Ramadan Mubarak to the believers. Tonight we're going to be talking about the art of war from my perspective. You've often heard me talk about being a strategist. Now before I begin, I'm going to start by saying I have lost before. There's no shame in that. Shout out River Park Towers. I have lost before. I had to learn how to win by losing until I said I'm not going to let this happen again. I figured out what my flaws and weaknesses were. I addressed them. I corrected them. And I started winning prolifically. I'm going to tell you how, because I started analyzing the game different, from a different perspective. The last few times I actually lost, I was infantry, and I was trying to compete with cavalry. I didn't know the difference, and I didn't know I was at a disadvantage because I didn't know the difference. Most people running around in these streets thinking they're warring and they're getting busy don't really understand war. They don't understand military. They don't understand the divisions at all. In their minds, they think they're all the way in the armored division. And you're not. You're in the infantry division in reality. You're not even in the cavalry division. I'll explain those three divisions to you and how they actually really relate to the street and street warfare. Infantry, as we all know in the military, it's the same rules apply to the street. Those are foot soldiers. That means if you are a nigga who don't got a car, listen to me, YN, if you don't got no car and you in the streets beefing, warring, you outside, whatever you want to call it, you gang banging, you doing whatever you do, and you don't have your own personal vehicle, you are infantry division. That's the lowest tier. You're a foot soldier. See, cavalry, what separates infantry and cavalry is mobility. Cavalry is mobile. Traditionally in old school army military fashion, they were the men on horses. And infantry was the men on feet. So when you apply it to the street, we don't move around on horses, we move around in cars. You can cover a lot more ground on a horse or a car than you can on feet. So their advantage over you is their mobility. You don't realize how much of a disadvantage you're at until you're actually in the midst of war. Like I said, I've been there before. The past few times that I lost, prior to, me saying, okay, I'm figuring this thing out, I was caught at a disadvantage when someone who was driving pulled up on me abruptly when I wasn't. They could have been laying there for hours or days even. I'd never know. All I know is I went to walk off and here comes this guy. Or I'm just standing there and here comes this guy. You don't understand how this plays into your world. You're looking at it like it's just on TV. But no, war is war. Life is life and death is death. If you understand the game on its higher level, you will understand it on a lower level when it's taking place in front of you. You may feel like, okay, I don't have a car, but I got a pipe and I can move around, or this, that, and the third. Yes, you have a pipe and you can move around. But whenever you move around, being that you don't have your own vehicle, you either have to A, steal a vehicle, which means you've just added another felony into your life for no apparent reason that has nothing to do with the beef, okay? Or you have to involve someone else, which means pick up a co-defendant if anything goes left, which means pick up a snitch if anything goes left, which means put somebody in your business, when beefing is actually a one-man sport. It's really a one-man sport. You don't need a gang of people to get your man. Just being honest. Okay? You open the door to have someone rat on you by bringing someone into your business because you need a ride. You may try to rely on public transportation. Try that way too. It's not always reliable. Well, if you get busy or catch a jug or whatever, it's at a third, and you run to the bus stop and then you gotta wait. Or you run the hell down the cab and then you gotta wait. Uber's another Cody. You're at a disadvantage. You're on foot. You shouldn't be beefing with nobody. Not no real beef. If you're fighting other kids in your high school or something like that, that's like natural, normal childhood behavior. But if you're really out in these streets calling yourself beefing and you don't got a car, you're at a serious disadvantage. You're going to go straight to the penitentiary, or more often than not, you're just going to lose. You're bound to take an L. You're bound to get caught slipping. You're bound to get caught somewhere without it on you, or if you got it on you, you're going to have to perform somewhere where it's not smart for you to perform at because it's going to be difficult for you to get away from there safely. That's how that works, right? It's cavalry division. You're moving around. You got wheels. That's when you're doing things like spinning the block and laying on somebody. When you're in people's bushes. That's cavalry division stuff, right? But cavalry is on top of the food chain. This is a little bit ahead of the infantry division. See? It's easy for cavalry to get infiltrated by law enforcement. Riding around in a car while a young black person in itself, especially if you're in the act of, getting busy, is dangerous. It's dangerous. You get pulled over, everybody in the car goes down. People know your vehicle. It's easy to get at you. They spot your vehicle. They track your vehicle. They slap the little, what's the little eye thing called? You know what I'm talking about, the little tracker that goes to your phone. People slap those on your car nowadays. There are weaknesses for the infantry. Okay? You have to keep all of your paperwork up to date. Things that make it difficult for law enforcement when you encounter them to, breach your ship, right? To board your ship and come looking for things that may be detrimental to your freedom, right? So you have to understand the levels and the dangers of each level. What are the predators on each level? And what are the advantages on each level? There aren't really any advantages of being infantry anymore, with the cameras being all over the city like there are. Being cavalry, there are still ways to play it that are less risky than being infantry, but it's still highly, highly dangerous. And this is just dealing with the elements. It's not even dealing with your enemy yet. It's dealing with the elements, man. One of the main elements being law enforcement, because they're out there to stop guys from warring. And you out there trying to go to war, right? So, what comes after both of these two divisions is, like I said before, the armored division. Once you're in the armored division, bro, that means you're untouchable. You're bulletproof. The streets no longer have access to you. The streets don't know where you reside. The streets don't know what you drive. The streets have no impact on your income. You've insulated yourself to the streets, you are untouchable. Once you're in that armored division, you learn how to appreciate your comfort. So you're not necessarily looking to come outside of your comfort zone. Someone that's in an armored division is someone that you don't really want to be in a beef with, because it's very hard to penetrate armor. It's hard to penetrate armor. And they usually fire back with something that's as strong as, their defenses. So if you're in an infantry division and you're walking around on foot, hanging out on the corner, and someone is in the armored division, you have to understand your lane. You can be as tough as you want to be. You can be as fearless as you want to be. But unless you're outright suicidal, you need to learn how to understand, respect, and stay in your own lane. Infantry soldiers should never go out of their way to beef with armored soldiers. Now, as when it comes to infantry soldiers and cavalry soldiers, every now and then, the eagle finds out that the fighting rooster can get busy. In the state of South Carolina, they call them gamecocks. They game. They're going to fight to the death. They game. The eagle moves around. He's an apex predator coming out the sky. But if he lands on that ground, and he don't land right on top of that fighting cock, that rooster, there's some hens and chicks around, that eagle is going to find out that no matter how well he flies and moves about, when he gets on that ground with that fighting cock, he's in for a surprise. He might actually be in trouble. His advantage is flying, because that cock can't fly. As long as he stay in the air, he got the advantage on him. When that eagle get on the ground, he got to fight that cock, and that cock gonna fight. Now, understand where you're at, that you should have some boundaries for yourself. And those boundaries begin right here, with your mouth. Your mouth. That's what gets you in most of it. Your mouth. Know who to talk that shit to and who not to talk that shit to. You infantry, stay down there with them infantry dudes. Now, if a cavalry dude happens to get off his horse and you're infantry, go ahead and handle your business. But for the most part, you want to stay away from the cavalry dudes. Unless, like I said, you catch one of them on the ground. Then you got an opportunity. But them armored division dudes, you need to stay away from them altogether. They are very dangerous to you. Yeah. They have your mama in a black dress with a GoFundMe on Facebook trying to come up with money to bury you, and be chilling somewhere on the island drinking out of coconut. Tupac said, get your money right, then go to war. It all makes sense, don't it? Get your money right, then go to war. If your money ain't right, you ain't got no wheels. You're running around warring on foot. You're a foot soldier. You're infantry. You don't got no business going to war on foot. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. Go get some money. Stop thinking about war and start thinking about going to get some money. Because you're going to lose. You ain't got no car. 9 times out of 10, you don't got no retainer or no lawyer. 9 times out of 10, you don't got no bond money at your house. Why I say that? Because if you had $15,000, $20,000, you more than likely would have got a car. Get your money right, then go to war. Don't go to war as a foot soldier. Infantry should only be for self-defense. Make it the cavalry first before you think about riding down on something. You don't ride down on nothing on the train. You're going to prison, young fella. Narrow your focus. Get your money right. Then go to war. If anybody wants to know why I'm talking to gangsters about how to be a better gangster and how to survive in these streets, it's because don't ever forget, Jesus was a gangster by every sense of the word. And his number one hitter that would chop your ear off, name was Peter. Y'all have a nice